Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and a couple of weeks ago we went over the best card for every class in Hearthstone history. We one up Theo, we gave the better list, and well, he hasn't made a worse yet, so I'm challenging Theo to outdo our list today. We're gonna go over every class and their worst cards in Hearthstone history. I'm gonna try and stay away from like classic legacy because there's just really like generic vanilla minions from there, so we'll ignore that. And if a card like Acid Maw has been buffed to actually be pretty good, I'll ignore it. We'll go with more the current versions of cards and try and keep it somewhat within context of its own meta, but sometimes maybe not. I'm never that consistent on it, but it is my list, so I can do whatever I want. And as always, feel free to share your own opinions in the comments down below. And if you feel like I've earned your subscription and you enjoy the content on channel, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like as we're on the road to 90,000 subscribers. So let's get the newer classes out of the way. Their cards aren't nearly as bad as Death Knight's only been around for a few years. Demon Hunter, like, I guess we're at like almost half a decade now. Time flies. And yes, for Death Knight, I'm gonna say we're gonna get 5 of the worst for each class and then give my pick for the worst. We have Silk Stitching, 2-mana spell, which you get to choose a friendly minion, discover a spell that costs 4 or less. And I literally have to read this card. I barely played it. I've discovered it sometimes. For it to cast when it dies. Very inconsistent. If it's like a damage spell, it can hit you. And there's not a ton of like cheap spells you want to attach to a minion and just hope for it to do something good. We have Death Metal Knight, which required 2 blood runes, which is a big ass. It is a 3-mana 3/4 with taunt, but it costs health instead of mana if your hero was healed this turn. I don't know, this card just never felt like worth playing, and it just feels like if I'm already healing in a turn, can't I have that 0 mana 3/4 like the old card, right? That 3/3 that you could cheat out if you healed it. Just feels like you're already paying enough. I don't know. Rhyme Scale Siren, a 3-mana 2/3 Undead Noggin, requires 1 Frost Rune. Battlecry, if you cast 3 spells while holding this, you freeze 3 random enemy minions. Doesn't even freeze the enemy face, and yeah, you gotta hold this understated minion. Gotta play 3 spells just to freeze some stuff when there's plenty of ways to do that already that don't require nearly as much. We're a lot better. And we also have a Repulsive Gargantuan, 4-mana 3/6, again, Frost card. Enemy characters can't be healed. Like, I guess, okay, I put this out there, and in this weird situation, my opponent wants to heal themselves up, they have to kill this first, I guess. But really niche, really not very worth it. Also an epic, but I think it was free at the time. And Frostmourne, 6-mana 4/3, was a 7-mana 5/3 originally. Weapon, Death Roll, summon every minion killed by this weapon. I feel like the buff made this card worse for the most part. I just like the extra damage more often than just getting this cheaper. You have to kill things, like 3 things, just to get value out of this, and it relies on your opponent to have good stuff. It's a card that was given as like a free thing off Death Knight cards back in the Frozen Throne days and was made into a card. And just for how iconic this card should be, it's my pick for the worst Death Knight card because it just makes me sad that Frostmourne sucks this much even after a buff. But honestly, none of the cards for Death Knight are that bad. They're just not. Demon Hunter, for the most part, similar. We have Tough Crowd, which maybe you guys will be one, hopefully not. 3-mana 2/1 Demon Outcast, return a minion to its owner's hand. So it's like a 3-mana sap, although you can bounce something back to your own hand. But if it's not Outcast, it's a 3-mana 2/1, which is atrocious, and Demon Hunter just likes going face, pushing damage. I've never seen this hard run in a deck. You can window shopper, discover it, but never worth playing. Rhythm Dancer Reza, which was originally 5 mana, a 4/3/5, 4-mana 3/5 rush minion. After a hero attacks, return this hand to your hand and set its cost to 1. Also a rogue card. Don't think it's on my rogue list, but I thought about it. But yeah, it's got to survive the damage it's trading in. Then you attack, then you can get some more value maybe, but we're playing Demon Hunter here. Do we really care? And no, I have never seen this in a competitive list. As another dual class card, Blood Herald, it goes with Hunter. I think it did make my Hunter list, we'll see. A 5-mana 1/1 Undead. Whenever a friendly minion dies, while this is in your hand, gain +1/+1. So for this to be worth it, you need like 5 friendly minions, and it's only friendly minions too, right? To die, and then you play a minion that does nothing when you play it, right? I guess you could give it a rush, and that's about it. horrendously bad card, but there's an achievement tied to it, so, you know, you can do that. We have the Proving Grounds. Summon 2 minions from your deck. They fight. The idea is like 2 big death rattles, and they hit, and then you get, you know, like a good thing out of it, I guess. But there is a combo with like the honorable kill card that they could hit each other and you would do like, I think 16 damage, but overall terrible card. And the most recent addition to this list, All-Terrain Voidhound, 7 mana, 5/8 demon. Whenever this attacks, give your hero +5 attack this turn. I think this came out in Perils. It's a 7 mana, 5/8 demon. That's it. You got to give it rush, and then you can get a whole +5 attack. It's atrocious, and it's my pick for the worst card. It really is. Like, just because it's so recent and it stands out is so bad. At least these are slightly cheaper and feel like they have a bit more of a benefit. Blood Herald's probably worse, but I'm going to give it to All-Terrain Voidhound just because of the context of when it's coming out, right? When Hearthstone's never been more broken, we get that card, which is pretty outrageous. Now we go to the legacy classes, starting off with a Druid. We have Jade Display, probably the most recent addition. 1 mana, 1/1 death rattle. Your Jade Displays at +1/+1 this game. Shuffle 2 them into your deck. It's so incredibly slow. They don't have taunt. They don't have rush. There's no other Jade support. Unlike like Jade Idols and Jade Golems, this is its only thing, right? It's the only thing that interacts with it. It's awful. It's really bad. We have Wild Walker, a 4 mana 4/4 minion. Battlecry, give it a friendly beast. So only a beast, +3 health. They literally buffed card recently to be a 4 mana 4/4. Give a friendly beast +3/+3. Strictly better now, right? And this card still exists as it is. Never saw play. It's a very old card, but a very bad one. Of course, Dustfallen Aviana, 5 mana 3/7. Play this to let your opponent win. But yeah, on each player's turn, the first card played costs 0. So your opponent always gets the initiative on this, right? They get to play the card first, and that's probably going to screw you. The only issue is sometimes I could end it, make it go dormant, right? And then take advantage of it later. That's so unbelievably slow. There's not many cards in the game where if you play it, you're actively helping your opponent, but Dustfallen Aviana is that and then some. Webweave, it's a 5 mana spell where you summon 2 1/2 poisonous spiders. For 5 mana, you get 2 forward stats and 2 little poisonous spiders. Atrocious card. One of the worst ever. And Ironhide Dire Horn, a 7 mana 7/7 beast. You have overkill, meaning you kill by more than the 7 attack it has. Summon a 5/5 Ironhide Runt. It's just a 5/5. It does nothing else. This was a bad Battlegrounds card, so you can imagine how bad on ladder is. And yeah, it's bad, but Dustfallen Aviana, worst Druid card ever. It's not even close. And if Theo tries to debate me on that, he will absolutely lose. We have Hunter. I will mention like Acid Maw and Ball of Spiders. Horrendous cards, but they've got buffed to be all right now, right? So I can't include them. So we'll go with Dinomancy, which was buffed to get +3/+3 instead of +2/+2, but still terrible. You remove your hero power that doesn't guarantee 2 damage every turn to one that relies on buffing specifically beasts. Like, it's just really bad, even at +3/+3. And hilariously enough, we have Hidden Cache, one of the worst secrets ever. After your opponent plays a minion, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. You are spending 2 mana to gain +2/+2 on something completely random. Or if you have no minions, I guess nothing, but it shouldn't proc. But regardless, 2 mana for +2/+2 on something you can't control. That's never a good deal ever. Like, it's just shocking how bad that secret is. We have Infest, a 3 mana nature spell. Give your minions Death Rattle, add a random beast to your hand. I mean, we have Ball of Spiders at 3 in standard, see 0 play. Random beasts never been great, and this one required a big board. You rather just do like anything else with your mana than get random beasts. And yeah, I don't believe this ever saw play. Blood Herald again. What do I need to say more? If it was a beast, maybe, because you could like Tundra Rhino it. Maybe that would be something, but it ain't. And then we have Vile Brood Skitterer, a 5 mana 1/3 Poisonous Rush. You're playing 5 mana to play the worst beast ever to maybe just like kill a little thing, right? Or kill, if there's a taunt in the way, you can't even do that. Like, it's so bad. I don't know which to pick. I'm gonna go with Dinomancy just because it's been buffed and it's still really, really bad. For Mage, we have some cards here like Astral Rift, 2 mana arcane spell, add 2 random minions to your hand. Like, maybe an okay arena pick, not even, but just 2 random minions. What are you ever doing with that in Mage? There's never been real synergies. I guess you could go no minion Mage with this, but yeah, just literally any minions ever. Like, you're spending 2 mana on that. It's atrocious. We have Shatter, 2 mana frost spell, destroy a frozen minion. That's it. We have Snap Freeze, which is 1 mana. Freeze a minion, I believe. If it's frozen already, you destroy it. That exists right now. Strictly better, right? And it's just cards always been bad. And speaking of freeze, Demented Frostcaller. It's a 4 mana 2/4. After you cast a spell, freeze a random enemy. Kind of annoying, I guess, but like, you gotta play it with a bunch of cheap spells. You're not killing anybody. You're just freezing things. You already have access to full board freezes, and you look at Flamewaker, you can just kill people. Who cares about freezing, right? So really awful card. We have Anomalous, which I don't believe really saw play ever, even with Frostlich Jaina, which would turn this to lifesteal, I believe, but anyways, 8 mana, 8/6, Death Rattle, deal 8 damage to all minions. So no immediate effect, no taunt. It can be ignored. It can clear your own board. Just, yeah, an anomaly of a card. And it's just really, really bad. I'm sorry. But my pick for the worst Mage card, by far, Glacial Mysteries, an 8 mana frost spell. Put 1 of each secret from your deck into the battlefield. This came out after Mysterious Challenger, which was insane. And for 2 more mana, or I guess now 3 more mana, you got to get secrets out and no body, and it was awful, awful, awful card. And you always felt bad when you randomly cast it or discovered it. Really terrible card. For Paladin, we'll start off with Bloodclaw, a 1 mana 2/2 weapon. We have a tradable rogue weapon, by the way, that is upside on trading it. It's just 1 mana 2/2 weapon. Battle Cry, deal 5 damage to your hero. 5. That's 1/5 of your, or sorry, 1/6 of your health gone right away. And yeah, I know you were supposed to like heal up and there were synergies. Those were terrible and never worth playing this card. It was so bad. Bronze Herald, a 3 mana 3/2 dragon. So horrible stats, no effect. Death Rattle, you would add 2 4/4 dragons to your hand. They had no text. They cost 4 mana to play. So you're playing a badly statted 3-drop to get 2 badly statted 4-drops that have no synergies. They did do a bunch of dragon buffs throughout Hearthstone. It's never worked, and you would never play these cards. They're just really awful. Light Sorrow, maybe one of the worst weapons ever. 4 mana 1/4. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, gain 1 whole attack. So the idea is you'd play this and like have a bunch of bubbles die, and then you have like a 4/5. It's so bad. Like, this never worked. It would need to be like +2 attack, +3. I guess +3 would probably be insane, but yeah, never worth it. By the way, a lot of these I crafted golden for this video, so if you could click like for my dust commitment on this, I'd appreciate it. Bolvar, speaking of that, my first ever legendary I opened ever. Bolvar 4 Dragon, 5 mana 1/7. Whenever a friendly minion dies while this is in your hand, gain +1 attack. So another one of these cards, you got to be holding a bunch of stuff dying, and then back then you'd play this, it would get owled, it would get BGH'd. It was just terrible. It has no effect. It's just stats, and rarely did that matter, and it didn't. And we got Righteousness, the replacement in the core set way back when they rotated out, I believe, Divine Favor, 5 mana to give all your minions Divine Shield. Like, that is one expensive requirement, but I'm going to give it to Light Sorrow. Just one of the worst weapons out there. There is a worse weapon on this list, but it's definitely up there, and for me, it's the worst Paladin card of all time. For Priest, we have, I gotta say, like, this is a Caverns of Time total meme card, but still. Shadow Word Forbid, 2 mana shadow spell with tradable, destroy a 4-attack minion. Corrupt this, you destroy all 4-attack minions. Super narrow, super niche. It's literally just a meme from back in the day that Priest could never kill a 4-attack minion because they had death and they had pain in between the two. for attack. But yeah, it's a terrible card, but I appreciate the flavor of the joke. It's worth it, but it's still putting it on my list. We have Surrender to Madness, unbelievably bad card. 3 mana shadow spell, destroy 3 of your mana crystals. 3 of them, all just to give minions in your deck +2/+2. That's it. That's your upside. A minor hand, not even hand buff, deck buff. You don't buff anything on board. In your hand, you would have to Surrender to Madness to play this card. We have a recent card here, Posse Possession, 4 mana shadow spell. Summon a 4/4 copy of a random minion opponent's hand. You play this, they have no minion, you get nothing. Most times it's just a 4/4. Had no synergy with Raw Den, which was supposed to be like, you know, play other minions and get stuff, but this is summon, doesn't work. It's an utterly pointless card that has never done anything. We have Power Word Tentacles, 5 mana shadow spell, give a minion +2/+6. I put this on here solely because there's a 4 mana version right now in Priest that sees no play. It's bad. And this is 1 mana more. You can play Shadow Priest, don't get me wrong, but it's literally the same card. And it's just, why? Both suck. And this one's 5 mana. And of course, you gotta go Temporis. I know I've made my arguments to this card, had its merit against the greedy Control Warriors back in the day, Inner Fire Priest, because you could play it, they wouldn't kill you, then you kill them. But most times, you give your opponent to take 2 turns, then you take 2 turns. You're very, very, very rarely ever gonna be able to take those 2 turns, like ever. You're just gonna blow up. And yeah, I'll give it to Temporis for its just spectacular ability to get you killed. For Rogue, we have Kidnap, a really just bad secret. You basically, after your opponent plays a mini, you stuff it into the sack. So unlike Objection, which I hate, I loathe, I'm not saying buff this, please don't ever. It doesn't like stop battle cries or anything like that. They just lose that minion and then they can get it back and get more value, right? Like, it's not the worst ever, maybe, secret, but it's really close, and I had to put on my list. I gotta say, I kind of struggled with Rogue. They don't have that many horrendous bad cards. They do have Poison Blade, which started at 4, got buffed to 2, and still sucks, where your hero power gives this +1 attack instead of replacing it. Again, this started at 4 just to get basically what Rogue's hero power was in very early beta, where that's how it worked, right? You, instead of like redaggering, you would buff your weapon if you had it up. And yeah, that's what this is, and it's just always been really bad. We have the Deadly Fork, a 3 mana 3/2. Terrible, right? Death Rattle, add a 3/2 weapon to your hand. That weapon is 3 mana too. And that was back when Fiery War Axe was still 2 mana. Obviously it got nerfed later, but still, you paid 3 mana for a 3/2 to get a 3/2 weapon that costs 3 mana. That's 6 mana of investment for crap. And it was just really bad. We have Wanted. We have Metal Detector right now, by the way. Just want to point that out. Wanted, 4 mana spell. You deal 3 damage to a minion for 4 mana. If that kills it, then you get that coin. Yeah. Not worth it whatsoever. And we have Unidentified Contract, which gains a bonus effect in your hand. So there's a bunch of them over here. Let's move my stupid face. All the different bonus effects of destroying minions. So you can either add a copy of that minion to your hand, deal its damage to adjacent minions, add 2 coins to your hand, summon a 1/2 Patient Assassin. It's a 1/2 with poisons and stealth. This guy here. So really bad card, and just compare it to like Bob right now. Just compare it to Bob, and you can't consistently get what you want. It's completely random, and it's Rogue, and you wouldn't bother. But I'm gonna give my pick to Poison Blade. I know it's been buffed to 2, but still, it's that bad at 2. Can you imagine at 4? Honorable mention to the Fork. I think it's quite hilarious. Shaman, we got to go with Dust Devil. I know this is way back in the old days. This is an exception for me for even Legacy standards. Even Legacy, it was an anomaly in how bad it was. 1 mana 3/1 Wind Fury, Overload 2. Overload 2. It, like, this thing always died, and then you just died. Like, you overload 2 at any point early in the game, you're losing that game, unless you're facing the slowest priest deck ever. We have Saxophone Soloist, pretty recent card. 1 mana 1/2 Murloc Battlecry. If you control no other minions, add a Saxophone Soloist to your hand. I get, again, it's just like, I have to have an empty board in my Shaman deck or whatever to get a bunch of it's just, why do I want 1/2s? I don't know. Wartbringer, 1 mana 2/1 Battlecry. If you play 2 spells this turn, deal 2 damage. You have to play 2 spells in a turn just to get one of the most underwhelming battle cries ever. Of course, we have Marabi, 6 mana 4/4. Whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. We literally have a 1 mana version of this. Like, it's so bad. It's so bad. The memes have been amazing over the years, but it's a terrible card. And the Mistcaller, 6 mana 4/4 battle cry. Give all minions in your hand and deck +1/+1. Yeah, this type of effect used to be valued at 6 mana. Never good then. And we have so many cards that do so. I mean, Shaman in particular, I have a 7 mana spell right now that does +2/+3 to everything. It's crazy, right? But yes, my pick absolutely goes to Marabi for Warlock. I will admit, I don't have Hyreek on my list. I probably should, but I don't. Curse of Flesh, 1 mana, your opponent wins, right? Enemy minions cost health instead of mana next turn. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do with this, like, ever. Like, get them low and then play this. It's just never been a thing, and I don't think it ever will be. And the same thing goes for Commander Ulfok. 5 mana 7/7 battle cry. Your opponent's cards cost health instead of mana next turn. Same deal. Like, you're just letting your opponent win unless you're in a very particular situation. We have Anima Golem, a 6 mana 9/9 at the end of each turn. So each turn, not your turn, every turn, destroy this minion if it's your only one. So yeah, you get a lot of stats, but if your board is remove other stuff, it's gone. And this thing is like always gone. It's just so much. Or they might just BGH it for 3 mana back in the day. Like, really bad. Void Crusher, a 6 mana 5/4 demon. So bad stats. Inspire, destroy a random minion for each player. So you still had to destroy your own minion for 8 mana just to kill one random thing. What? And it could destroy itself for something good. Like, oh my God, 8 mana to kill one random thing. Unbelievable. And then this is actually an expansion card. Fearsome Doomguard. I'm not putting Hyreek because at least Hyreek had synergies. We're still at, an 8 mana 7/7. This is just a 7 mana 6/8 textless demon. Like, they actually made this in TGT. Like, after GVG, they made a vanilla, just textless minion, which is just crazy. My pick's gotta be Curse of Flesh, though. I mean, just 1 mana, your opponent wins, and also it's hilarious when it comes off tendrils, which happens a lot in Arena these days. And then lastly, Warrior has some spectacularly bad cards. Conqueror's Banner, recent one. They brought Joust back for Warrior. Reveal a card from each player's deck 3 times. Draw any of yours that cost more. This is the same time where I was like comparing it to the Imp card for Warlock, where they could draw like 8 cards for 2 mana. And Warrior, maybe they could draw 3 or 0. This could draw 0 cards, and it was just atrociously bad. Dr. Boom Scheme. 4 mana, gain 1 armor, upgrades each turn. That upgrade is 1 armor. So you gotta wait a very, very long time to get any armor that is worth it. We have the Magnetar Alpha, a 4 mana, 5/3 minion that also damages the minions next to whomever he attacks. That's it. Like, it's got no rush. Rush didn't exist at the time when this came out. You could give it charge, I guess, but what the heck? Like, this is just always gonna die. It doesn't draw. It likely doesn't clear anything because it's gonna die to everything. Atrocious card. Tentacle for Arms, a 5 mana 2/2 weapon. 5 mana 2/2. Death Rattle. Return this to your hand. It's infinite damage. But then you have to spend 5 more mana for 4 damage. And the animation's brutally slow. There's some fun mark combos, but horrendous card, and one that just came out this expansion. I sincerely believe it belongs on the list. Dwarf Planet, 10 mana. Fill your board with random 2-cost minions that attack random enemies. That could be a Doomsayer, by the way. You could just lose your board. It's 10 mana. And there's not like a way to really cheat this out. It's not even a powerful effect. Like, for 10 mana, it's not powerful at all. Trial by Fire is infinitely more strong at 7. I'm sorry. It's a horrible card, but I'm like, come on, it's Dr. Boom Scheme. This is one of the worst, if not worst, cards ever in Hearthstone history. So there you go. My picks for the worst card for every class. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll see if Theo has the courage to try and outdo this list. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.